Welcome to the Sun Parlour Coffee House Sessions. I'm Jan Hall from Folk Roots Radio, and I hope that wherever you are, you're staying safe and well during these strange pandemic times. In fact, today, I'm staying safe and well here at Folk Roots Radio. Sadly, because of COVID-19, we haven't yet been able to bring any artists back into the studio to record a session. But that hasn't stopped us introducing you to the artists virtually as they join us to chat about their music and share their videos. And we have another great COVID times edition of the show to bring you today. Jensen, composer and arranger for Toronto-based a cappella vocal group Countermeasure, joins us to chat about their music and latest release, Guest Sessions, which sees them bringing in some top-class instrumentalists like Natalie McMaster, Randy Brecker, Cindy Cashdollar, and Evelyn Glennie. Guest Sessions is a great album, and we're so pleased that Erin is going to join us today. And from Guest Sessions, this is Carry Away. Enjoy.
Stay where you rest, I'll follow. Whenever the rain falls, I hear your name, and I remember the way the friends, they felt like home again, like a wave of yesterdays crashing to the shores. I close my eyes and I'm carried away. I see temples in your eyes, the ripples in the rivers and the blossoms of the trees. They are records, treasures of the time we walked together. When I press my head against your chest, your breath becomes the sea. Where you go, so must I go. Where you stay, I will stay. Where you rest, I follow. Whenever the rain falls, I hear your name, and I remember the way friends, they felt like home again, like a wave of yesterdays crashing to the shores. I close my eyes and I'm carried away. I'll
That's Countermeasure with Carry Away from their fantastic new concept album, Guest Sessions. And that track features the wonderful Kevin Fox on cello. My great pleasure to welcome to the show today Countermeasure composer and arranger Aaron Jensen, who actually composed all the songs on the new album. It's great to have you join us today.
Thank you for having me.
I'm very impressed. What can I say? I've been a fan of Countermeasure. I think Made to Measure was the album that I first got hooked into, which Guest Sessions, I think, is the third album you've produced as Countermeasure, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
And we're already we're using these strange COVID times. We're diving into the fourth, as we speak, the next sort of volume of Guest Sessions. So.
Well, I've got to say, your videos are great. And I know, we'll encourage people who are enjoying this show today to actually check out the videos. But the videos for Countermeasure are awesome. Definitely want to go ahead and check those out. Go to countermeasuremusic.com and you can follow the links from there and check them out. But let's turn the clock back a little bit and talk a little bit about the start of the band. Now, I think Countermeasure got together around 10 years ago. Is that right?
That's right. We would have just passed our 10-year anniversary within the last couple of weeks, if I'm not mistaken.
And I think you're also a member of Cadence as well, which is the...
I was for 5 years. And just as that was sort of wrapping up and I was looking for a change, I started up with this group. So it's been about 9 years since I was with Cadence.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about the motivation to start Countermeasure, because it's a slightly different a cappella group, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was approached by J.M. Erlandson and Ilana Steingart, who are two of the members of the exec. And they knew me through the a cappella community, and they had just finished their University of Toronto experience. They had been singing with a collegiate group there, and they were wanting to keep the party going. They were looking just for any opportunity to continue to sing with a lot of the friends that they had built up through those worlds. And they approached me, and in the beginning there was no lofty plans. It was very community based, and our first concerts were pretty darn humble, and we put out an audition call, but it was very much we were auditioning for the people as much as we were auditioning for the musicians. And that has been the common thread through these last 10 years, that we really are a family. And even though Ilana describes the group as a hobby gone rogue, and so even though it started with sort of these just looking for opportunities to make fun music with people that we cared about, and that has turned into a group that has toured internationally many times, that has recorded several albums, and have collaborated with some pretty exciting artists over the years.
Well, and that leads us nicely into Guest Sessions, because this is a pretty unique project, because you actually crafted these songs with the actual instrumentalists in mind. I mean, you've got, we're going to play Dame Evelyn Glennie in a few moments with the beautiful For Alice song. But, we played Kevin Fox at the start, Randy Brecker, Cindy Cashdollar, some fabulous people. I'm intrigued about the fact that you really wanted to write with them in mind. Tell us a little bit about your thought process for that.
Yeah, well, I feel like rather than... There's any number of vocal albums, particularly choral albums, that have accompaniment. So rather than thinking of these two different entities of voices plus accompaniment sort of in this secondary role, I was really interested in the spaces that opened up compositionally from a songwriting standpoint by drawing on voices and then almost thinking of this extra instrument as a voice in the choir, and how we can complement each other and support each other in different ways. And really across the board, the artists were saying in the studio how they approached this album differently than any other project they worked on, in terms of how they played and the improvisations that came out of that. And it's been really thrilling to just experiment and to give ourselves the leeway in the studio to explore, rather than just going in with set charts and asking people to play what's on the page. We talk about the songs in advance. I did a lot of research into the discography of these different artists and really tried to tap into their sound and their aesthetics and their background. And then that just got carried through the actual recording process when they brought this whole other dimension to the pieces and really transformed things beyond what I was even imagining as I was composing it, which was really exciting, a really exciting process.
I think it's fantastic. And, I guess that's one of the benefits of doing a video show like this. But when you actually watch the video, and, one of the nice things that you've done is that you have done these behind the scenes videos, which, for instance, with someone like Quebecois guitarist Christian Roberge, he is on a fabulous song, which I think is what I Want to Make You Happy.
Want to Make You Happy, that's right. Yeah.
Which unfortunately we're not going to be able to play today, but I'm going to play it on Folk Roots Radio, my radio show, because it's just wonderful. But when you actually see the artist playing, and then you've got all these incredible voices around it, it really creates a brilliant effect, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and he just blew it out of the water. He came in, he had worked out that incredible solo in advance, so that was a take. Like, he just played this blisteringly fast piece that he'd worked out, and he was a lot of fun to work with. And someone that I actually grew up listening to before, just as I was starting to study composition in school. Like, I loved the Lost Fingers, and I remember hearing them on CBC. And if I could have seen 15 years in the future and imagined that I'd be writing a piece with him in mind, I think I'd be pretty tickled. So. Yeah,
no, I think it's wonderful. So I guess you had a long list of people that you would like to have join you. And what did you cold call them all and say, hey?
So it was a bit of a process. We started off with some artists that we had worked with in the past. So Kevin Fox, for example, we met some years ago at a Carole King concert, a Carole King tribute concert, I should say. And we stayed in touch. We've actually shared the stage a few times over the years. And so he was someone I could just email and see, what are you up to these days? And then as we developed mixes, as we developed these songs, we had a proof of concept, and it became easier to approach artists. And you describe having a list, and what really knocked me out about this project was these artists, the people that we reached out to, were my first asks in a lot of cases. Like, when I was thinking about a trumpeter that I wanted to reach out to, Randy Brecker was the first person that I reached out to, and he said yes. And Evelyn Glennie was the first person. Christian Roberge was the first person. So out of the gates, just to get to have an idea be met with such enthusiasm from a group that I'm sure none or very few of these artists would have come in contact with, was a real leap of faith for them. And we're just so grateful that they took the chance on us, and that we were able to build our musical community through working with them.
Well, with Evelyn Glennie, I mean, she lives in Scotland. I was first introduced to her years ago. I mean, she, when she first came on the scene as a percussionist, an amazing performer and just incredibly talented. And I think that didn't she create a whole bunch of different soundscapes almost to go with this song?
Absolutely. So the process for Alice, which is the Evelyn Glennie piece, is unique to the other songs in the album, in the respect that it's the only piece where the instrumentalist came first, where she just had all of these different instruments laid out in her studio, and she recorded these improvisations. And she is such a gestural, long form player that initially my thought was that I'd be able to sort of take a few samples here and there, and that I'd maybe like mix them all together to create this song. And For Alice was by far the hardest song for me to write. It took many months, but only because there was just such volume of incredible material that she provided. I probably wrote 20 different songs that I got 75% of the way through, and then got excited by another path. And then, but in the final product, it, rather than chopping up her performance at all, I just took a single improvisation that she played from beginning to end, 5 minutes, and just built the entire architecture of the song around this. So the swells and the different shapes that she offers, I tried to match with sort of melodic shape and the mood that she sets up, I tried to tap into as I was writing the lyric for this piece. And it was a very different process to songwriting than I have ever taken on in the past. And it was very challenging, but also very rewarding.
Yeah, that sounds so artistically exciting, right? Just that whole idea. I mean, it gives me goosebumps. Now, the actual video for this does give me goosebumps because there's another story to this song as well. I mean, that comes through the lyrics. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's something about when you're making music for people that you know very well, that you have known for years, that you're deeply connected to. The fact the group has been together for 10 years. So when I'm writing a song for the group to sing, particularly a song that has a lead singer to it, I'm very much not writing in the abstract. I'm writing with this person's voice in mind, in a lot of cases with their stories in mind. And the lead singer that I had in mind for Alice is a gentleman named Daniel Boyle. And he had recently lost his father to cancer a couple of years ago. And I was just listening to Evelyn Glennie's performance, and I was reflecting on a recent conversation that I'd had with Daniel about those final moments of kind of curating those last moments when you know that the end is drawing near, and, pulling those last conversations together. And at the same time, I should say, I was also reading a collection of short stories by Alice Munro. And there was a really exceptional short story that had a similar thread. And so some of the lyrical material was inspired from the conversation with Dan. Some of the lyrical material was birthed out of the world of Alice Munro's short story. And so the For Alice is both a reference to Alice Munro. It's a reference to my own personal, the third side of this is that that whole period of time, I had been volunteering at an elder facility in a dementia ward, and I'd grown very close to this woman named Alice, and was aware that every week that I was visiting her, she was sort of vanishing bit by bit, and that I was sort of curating my own goodbyes to her. And then the third one, there's sort of like a sneaky little nod to Beethoven's Für Elise. So For Alice is also, it's hitting it from through a few different angles. But anyway, the piece ended up being it was a tribute to Daniel and his story at the end. And the first time that I heard him sing it just completely knocked me out. And I think that the lightness and the effortlessness of his voice just paired so beautifully with Evelyn Glennie's performance. So we're very pleased with how that turned out.
It's a fantastic song.
Oh, thank you.
This is Countermeasure with For Alice.
Trace a jagged line, turn my head away from your heart's performance on display. Others in your place, labeled unexplained as a mystery, as something holy. We're just passengers, you said, lost for a moment in time, with hopes of someone waiting. We float down the line. The mistake is looking up at all. I'm still here, ever by your side. notice how the very stars have gone, fixed immovable, seven sisters. Before midnight, the ghost of shores. Face the jagged line, here to the end, and faintly as a will matter.
Travelers holding the fabric of death.
There's something holy, knowing we'll never be here again, lost for a moment in time, with hopes of someone waiting.
That's Countermeasure with For Alice. Aaron Jensen's our special guest on the show today. You know, Aaron, one of the things I love about that song, and we saw with the, Carry Away as well, your videos are fantastic. Is this sort of another part of the Countermeasure experience? I mean, we probably should talk a little bit about the sound guy as well, but, videos are great. I mean, you work as a team with some other people to create these effects because they really bring out the music.
Thank you. Well. Yeah, we have assembled a team that we go back to religiously. Every album that we've worked on, the mix engineer has been consistent. The last several videos that we've created have been through the same team. You mentioned a little behind the scenes featurettes. Those were put together by incredibly talented filmmaker who came with us to Japan this last time, Kylie Scott Grimes. The collage works that we commissioned for this, we've definitely surrounded ourselves with this sort of ancillary artistic team that we just love working with and will continue to come back to over the years.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely fabulous. Now, obviously, I think the album was released in September, but you haven't really had a chance to do much with it because we're in the middle of this coronavirus pandemic. Live performances, I think you're going back to Japan, I think in 2021, and realistically that may be the first time that you actually get back out on the road again.
That's and even that, like, if we had a crystal ball that we could look into, I don't know what the world is going to be looking like in May. We're all very optimistic that everything is still going to be moving forward, but it's all it's all just anyone's best guess at this point. But yeah, we had booked an entire tour to Saskatchewan. We'd be there actually a week from now, I believe. So October 2020 would have been Saskatchewan. We were slated to perform at the Tokyo Olympics in 2020, and the whole Olympics were canceled. And I'm not sure what the status of all that is. And so, yeah, it's been a real adjustment. But I'd say the bigger adjustment than the interruption of our live performance, with the kind of music that we make, it's essentially impossible for us to be meeting together. Like we're already a large group. There's 13 of us, and singing is considered to be one of the more dangerous activities in this climate. And so for a group of people who haven't gone longer than 2 weeks without seeing each other for 10 years and making music together with such regularity, to have our rehearsal schedule interrupted. And many of these singers, most of these singers, I haven't seen in person in 8 or 9 months, I would say. And we haven't made music in that amount of time. And that I don't think I fully realized to what extent singing, communal singing with these people that I love, how much that replenished my battery, so to speak, until I was denied that possibility. And it's been a real challenge. And I know it has been for the remaining group members as well.
Well, certainly we're looking forward to getting you back. And again, I can't encourage people enough to check out the videos, not just the ones we're obviously watching today, but also go to countermeasure.com, follow the links, and check out all the others. Now, let's take us through the live experience with Countermeasure, because the 13 people, 13 vocalists in the group.
Mm-hmm.
But, what's the show like? I mean, can you just give us an idea of what people can...
Yeah, well, I mean, one thing that we really pride ourselves on, or that we've really sort of shifted gears with over the last 4 or 5 years, I would say, is rather than just thinking of our show as a collection of songs, we really try to connect a through line throughout. We've worked with stage directors and we've worked with choreographers to help with blocking, because by having so many people on stage, even how we are oriented on stage tells a different story. And the choice of one song going into the other, and storytelling in between songs. And we have a lighting designer that we've worked with who's developed shows for us. I think we started with that in anticipation of our experience. We did the Edinburgh Festival Fringe for 3 weeks some years ago, and that was really a turning point for us, of bringing in all of this different crew to help us focus on not just the music, but also the look and the staging and the whole experience of it, so that we could meet or offer something different to our audiences. And to me, actually, the proof of the pudding of that was our experience in Japan, in that for the first time we were performing for an audience who largely didn't, well, I shouldn't maybe, an audience where English was not their first language, where there definitely would have been a language barrier for much of our audience. And so for the audience to be taking in the music and to be having some sort of emotional experience when they're one step removed by the lyric. And so in that case, how we were presenting and sort of the emotional connection that we made was that much more, it was put to the test that much more. And I don't think that it's any accident that some of our warmest audiences and our most diehard fans have come from Japan.
No, and that's wonderful. I mean, obviously, we've seen today, just the music you produce is just truly fabulous. And, I feel really privileged because I'm getting to learn a little bit of the behind the scenes things. Now, we're going to finish with another song that actually isn't on the Guest Sessions album. We're actually going back to Made to Measure, which was your second album. We're going to play Taking It Home, which is a great song to finish with. I also love this one because this song really shows the camaraderie that exists. The video is fabulous. I particularly liked it because I went to school in Scotland and some of it is filmed in Edinburgh. I recognized Arthur's Seat in the video. But I think there's also another link to Take It Home, and I just wanted to drop Schitt's Creek into the story here because
Yeah.
that fabulous Canadian TV show that pretty much cleaned up at the Emmys. I think it actually did in the comedy section. You were involved in that as well, and I think you were arranging for the Jazzy Girls. Is that the Jazzy Girls?
Yeah, well, it started off with that. I did the last 4 seasons, and I worked over the period of time. I worked as an arranger and a musical director, and then later on in the, I think, second to last season, the town of Schitt's Creek puts on the musical cabaret, and so I was responsible for all the orchestrations and sourcing the band and being the band leader and recording some elements of that in studio. But Taking It Home makes an appearance in the episode called The Jazz Guy, where Eugene Levy temporarily joins this ragtag bunch of community singers, of female singers in Schitt's Creek. And Dan Levy approached me very last minute and said, we need a song for you to teach these singers, a tag ending. Just write something really quickly. We need to record this tomorrow morning. And so rather than starting completely from scratch, I pulled together this pre-existing piece of Countermeasures and taught that to the singers. And we had a great time with that. But it's a nice little nod to the group, and Eugene caps it off at the end after the final "Taking It Home." Eugene goes, "Yeah," and leans forward, and it just kills me. So it was, yeah. It's one thing. It's very, very common in the a cappella world to cover other artists, and then to have somebody else cover your original music is pretty special.
No, that's great. Well, it's a perfect lead into this video because I do love it. I mean, I defy anyone to watch this video. But Take It Home and not get a wonderful smile on your face. It is a fabulous song. You could see how much you all love being together. I hope it's not that long before you're out on the road again. I want to encourage everybody, check out Countermeasure. This is the guest sessions. Fabulous, fabulous album. Pick up Made to Measure as well. And remember, we are in COVID times. So if you love the music that you're hearing, please buy the music. Don't just stream it, because then you'll really make a difference in the lives of the artists that make it. Aaron Jensen, absolute pleasure to talk.
Thank you. Thanks so much for taking the time. All the best.
We'll leave you with Countermeasure and Taking It Home. Stay safe and well, everyone. We will get through this, and we'll see you next time. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Should I just keep doing the Les Mis?
I got a plan, I'm on a mission. I got a wish and ambition and permission to go. I understand the time that it takes, the grind and the stakes in making things grow. I live large, I call them like I see 'em. You'll find me copying the DM all the day long. You wanna play, to take it all away. Get up, you're free to come along. I feel so far away when we're taking it home, taking it home, taking it home. As if we're dancing in the sky. We get to get away when we're taking it home, taking it home, taking it home. 'Cause we wanna stay to fly.
I was born at a young age,
Staring at the screen, dreaming of the stage, head in a cloud.
We're all one. The chances you take, the standing you stake in dreaming out loud.
you learn fast, collar a colluder.
Our crew was half as freaky as you when the time's strong.
I may be square, but why do I care? I found a circle where I belong.
I feel so far away when we're taking it home, taking it home, taking it home. As if we're dancing in the sky. We get to get away when we're taking it home, taking it home, taking it home. 'Cause we're all needing a reason.
All men in the house, raise your hands in the air. Now we're lumbering like a brown bear, like we don't care. Damn straight, who can hibernate? feet slamming, so we crouch like we're grabbing for salmon. Now, it don't matter if our steps ain't hot. Sharks working ups and we give it all we got.
Ladies, show me what you do. Come on, girls, I said whoa. Whoa. I said yeah. I said da. Now stop. You just sit there and think about what you've done.
2, 3, 4.
I feel so far away when we're taking it home, taking it home, taking it home, as if we're dancing in the sky. We get to get away when we're taking it home, taking it home, taking it home, 'cause we were made to fly. I feel so far away when we're taking it home, taking it home, taking it home, as if we're dancing in the sky. We get to get away when we're taking it home, taking it home, taking it home. We all need no reason to fly. I feel so far away. I feel so far away when we're taking it home, taking it home.